At least the last thing.
I know, like, where's that fish fine?
Yeah, really weird. They're like the spices. Those aren't exactly pronounced like every.
Yeah, no, like for example, turmeric is called
Oh, when you put it like work on it, what? You know?
Yeah,
Okay, let's move on to the next one. Can someone check this YouTube for me?
No.
Oh yeah.
It's really A is acceptable.
Okay, we're on the fifth exercise. We're looking at what do these. Okay. Fifth exercise. Yeah, what's happening? Okay. That guy. C. Intro to Axis. Okay, so that's where I'm trying to get to. Okay. Okay. So, idea would be to get some data points, plot them on a chart, have a nice looking chart, and with proper data points, naming conventions, tables, and all that stuff, right? So the only thing that's different in this code that we're going to learn, so we're getting the charts, okay. We know how to get the spacing. What we didn't do so far is to plot the scales, right? So now let's see how to do that, okay? I'll walk through this code, so this will be another chance if you're still like kind of getting warmed up around the idea and concept, and I'll mark where I actually get the, yeah, no problem. So you have a data array 1 to 3, categories 1 to 3, so it's spelled out number 1 to 3, all of that, okay? SPG height, so what you're saying is the height here is 400. The width is 1,000, and you can clearly see it. The width is more than the height. If I change these, and so when I give it to you after this, when you guys play with it, change the height, change the width, and see how these things affect. Margins, so actually if you look at it, there's 50 about from here, 50 about from here, there's SVG container 50, and then there's 50 from here. Okay, so that's what we're saying. You can change it and see how it moves. Like if I change it to 100, 200, I'll change it. We saw this, we calculate the chart height by subtracting the top and bottom margins. We calculate the chart width by subtracting the left and right margins. Should be clear. And then we create the SVG container by doing the select SVG area. I mean, in this case, we're doing SVG area, but you don't have to. You can do select SVG, append SVG, height, width. You pass the SVG height and width, and that's how you get the container. Container is nothing but the whole thing that blocks the space on the web page. Now, once you have it, you want to shift everything by the margin. So that's where the transform, the G group thing comes in. It literally transforms, translate, and you'll see in the code, it adds whatever margin left, margin top on that. So by making sure that you shift things by those many scales. Now, you don't have to do margin right and margin bottom because is blank and blank already there. Right? So you're just pushing that 0 point coincides with the top one. You're just pushing things a little bit so they kind of become reasonable. Then you do the Y, scale Y to chart height. And we looked at that. Here we're going to start from 0 and we're going to the max of data array. Now data array goes from what? 1 to 3, right? So we are going from 0 to 3. And you will find that on your chart, you're going from 0.0 to 3. Clear? So that's what your Y axis is doing. Now your X axis is scale band, data categories. And so that's what? That is 1 to 3. So there are 3 things. And you're saying you have a padding of 0.05. So you have a padding of 0.05. That's this padding. Padding will add on this side and that side, both sides. So you can change the padding when you get the code to play with it, see how padding affects. Okay. And then the range is the chart width. Chart width was what? 1,000 minus 50 and 50, so 900. So over 900, give me 0.5 padding, okay, and then give me three equal divisions. So that whatever number that comes out to be, it will do it automatically. The beauty of this is that if you had more elements, and you should do that when you get a chance, if you add 4, etc., it'll adjust itself. Okay, we'll make it.
Is that padding a number or is it like a percentage?
I think it's not a percentage. It's just I'm not sure on whether it's a percentage or a number. It's not a number. What? No, it's not 0.05 pixels. That would be super tiny. They're going to be come and see.
1,000.
Yeah, probably. I'll look. But it's typically like padding is small. I mean, we can see. Well, I'll check. Okay, and so now you have append G, and what this does, specifically what I'll show you. So what this does is, if you didn't have this, if you didn't move the translate 0 by the chart height, it's actually going to print the x-axis on top of the things rather than on the bottom of the things. And so does this. Finally, what you're going to do is going to look at this chart group, select bar. You're going to do append rectangle. Rectangles is what you want as a bar. And then these things, what we looked at, plot the numbers, on x-axis, plot the description from the data categories, y-axis, plot the scale, the appropriate level, and plot that. Here, I think the scale was 1, and then x scale bandwidth, which is giving you the width, and then calculating the bandwidth of it. X scale of X scale. And so last thing you want to plot is the height, which is chart height minus Y scale B. So height of the bars is that. I mean, you don't have to define it these order. Earlier we had seen that we define these first and then the XY. So that's that. Now let's look at when I start making changes. Okay. So let's say I first want to show you what this does. Setting up x-axis, right? So if I did append G call axis and then save, and then went back here. Let me check. This and post. So if I appended that, you see how the x-axis is now at the top. So let me just do this. X-axis went to the top. See that? And that happened because I did not have a transform and G group to push the x-axis by chart height. So if I don't do it, then the x-axis goes to the top. So that's what this does. This is very crucial. Okay. If you forget that one, it's going to go print it at the top. it would be 1. Okay? Because I pushed it by that. Here we don't have to do it because y-axis, remember everything in HTML starts from 0, 0 up at the top. That was up there. If you don't push it by chart height, it will print up. Y also starts from 0, 0, but Y is naturally on the left, right? So we're fine with that. If you push it by chart width, then you will have y-axis on the other side, and that's possible, right? So if I take this and just basically put it here, push it here and say, okay, chart width, then the y-axis save, reload. Oh, it went past this thing, so that's why it went missing. That's because that shouldn't have happened. Chart width is 1000 minus. I should have gone past. Width is that. Margin left, margin right. Oh. I shouldn't have gone past it. But it did. Okay. Okay, so I will have to change it to minus right, to into right. Okay, and then if I go here.
Maybe it's showing you how to make a really bad chart.
What? What, me?
Yeah, I mean, who wants to put the axis on the right side?
Okay, yeah, that's true. That's stupid. It's stupid. But no, you do, because sometimes you'll have dual y-axes. So you'll have x-axis on here, also y-axis on here, that probably tracking your GDP rate, and then your y-axis on this side is tracking something else. So, well, it should move. I'm probably missing something. I'm going to try it later, but so this is what it does. It moves charts to its different locations. What else? What else? Let's try changing the padding and see what that does. 0.05, I will do 0.1. I think it must be percent. That's why it's that small. Okay, so now it did change it, but it changed it by really small value. So let me do it more. It's 1.0 less and oh, disappeared. Yeah, it must be percent sometimes, but now it's 100%. So I think it's percent. That gives you if 1, it's gone. Like it disappeared. So it's percent.
Baseball percentage.
Yeah. So maybe 30, right? So let's go less and then do this. Reload. See, so it's percentages. So it shrinks those bars. Okay, so exercise for you guys, I think, is in the next one. So you don't have to look at this code, but kind of this gives you an idea, right? We did everything same. Just the key concepts were how do you print those X and Y axis, and also padding and how the padding function works. Everything else is pretty much the same. The next one is the exercise, which you have to complete, and it is about okay. See this example. Yeah, I think everything that you needed to do this is there. Of course, you have the solution, but I would highly encourage doing some practice. I'll give you guys 15 minutes. So we'll stop at 8:50. Okay, 8:50. So 15 minutes. Try to figure this out. So also, this is where you can copy a lot of stuff also from. I'll do this one of the examples. So look at these charts that people have done, and there's like thousands of resources. People have D3 charts online with the code. They give it away for free. You just have to be looking in the right place. That's a good one to look at. Yeah. Yeah. I don't want them to. Okay. So that's these are good. I'll copy some of these. Mm-hmm.
I have a suspicion that at one point this was a Saturday course.
Jeez, maybe.
And probably just like rescaled everything.
Maybe. Yeah, I give you the second link, but more. So all those tools can be definitely taken and mapped to the data and whatnot. And this is just one of the resources. There are many people. They also sell some of the charts. So if you see like some on the for your project, you can use some of these charts. The reason why we're going at this such detail on these things is obvious, because if we don't, then you won't be able to like copy and effectively use these. Right? You need to know what these things do. I mean, you will ultimately, but try to build the foundation. Yeah. Okay, if you have any questions on that code, kind of work out with your neighbor, see if you can figure it out. If you can't, then we'll chat.
I'd like to get the number two, that's what I got the
They just do the same thing. But then this was a circle.
What's the name of the test? Local.
That's.
No, it's.
Yeah. But hey, it's not like.
Right. So don't think of one as like with respect to the stage, I think there must be with respect to it. That's what I'm fine. I don't think it'll like margin between the cross and the, it should be 30.
Oh, okay.
It's pulling it out. Be serious, here's your margin on top. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So thank you so much. Yeah, I don't see any. Come on, get in here.
Done?
I'm missing something.
Oh, now I'm just looking at the this is the one you were asking for, but I did not write it.
This is the.
No.
You just put it in the store.
Yeah, I think so.
Is it the whole thing?
No.
Did you put it for lunch?
Okay.
We went through each of the sections that, like the, each, thing was blank at the bottom. See, like here, it says configure the band scale. So I copied that. Just change the band.
Oh, you're just testing it out, just I'll run this first.
Honestly, it's probably gonna be like one or two.
Really? Yeah. You know what? I don't think what I've looked at people is that. All the because sometimes what happens is that if you keep on going on eating this caffeine over and over again, your body gets used to the caffeine, so it has no effect.
I might be that point. Apparently, I was like, but chugging this coffee is not entirely certain that is possible for you. Really? To get used to caffeine? Yeah. No. It seems like it's just about frequency. If you have more of them, you're less susceptible to caffeine. Similar to alcohol, it's like a metabolase.
Yeah.
Metabolizes it. I don't actually know if building tolerance.
For caffeine. Or some people have that.
You can have a tolerance for it. But
I never drink caffeine, so I just sleep when I'm sleeping.
And then you're
15 minutes, power nap. Yeah, that's how long.
I'm sorry to drink a little bit.
So what are you trying?
And what?
You're the nurse.
The problem is about that, right?
Yeah. So you're saying he's already saying that you're only to the at that point of your he had already.
You know, I'm gonna lie, every Wednesday I try to cut myself off my caffeine, so I said like Thursday and Fridays being extremely sleepy. It's terrible, but it works. It keeps me moderately functional, and when it comes time for my second, but that's a rhythm of getting into. Now I'm just worried because it's like I feel like I'm not getting any of it. It's not sleep.
So hopefully you guys got some. Any questions on that one? Do you guys want me to walk through the code with you? Yeah? Okay, good. Okay, so So let's look at this. Caroline, actually, I'm going to ask you to volunteer a little bit. No, okay. I'll just go. So SVG width and height, 960 and 660. So we're still kind of giving it the range. I think this and this part should be straightforward, right? You're getting 30 margins, that's fine. I'm going to look at you to see that you get this. Okay. That's okay. If you don't, then you say no. Then chart width is pretty much width minus left margin, right margin, and so on. Here, we're going to insert or append, not insert is not the word, append SVG into the body. So we are saying select the body of the HTML index.html, append SVG with attributes that have height of 9 or whatever, the 660 and 960. This one, we have to shift the SVG by the margin. So it doesn't like, it's not all the way into left-hand side and the top, okay? So in the left and top shifts of 30 and 30 each. Okay? If we do 50 and 50s, then the chart will start moving in the middle, okay? That's what will happen. Now, loading the data from CSV. So we had the CSV loading the data. This is a standard function that helps you also log the data and also throw error if you can't reach the CSV or can't consume the data. Now, PV data for each hours, which is, what are we doing here? Plus what? Krishna, what does plus d dot hours mean? Perfect. It's converting to an integer. So I could have said parse int or plus d dot hours is reading, because CSV, when it reads, is going to just read it as text. Yeah. Configure that's like I, D, or anything like so. In for loop, we use I. Here we're using D. It's like a common notation that we use. Okay. Configure a band scale. Okay. Now you're getting the X scale, which is a band scale. So it depends on the band of data. Okay. So what you're doing is you're taking all the names from the CSV, and that band of names. So there are about 9 names. The bandwidth is going to be 9. And so the chart width we saw is what, 600. Chart width is 900, right? 960 minus 30 minus 30, 900. So it's going to take that data, so 9 points within the 900 length. So that's 100 approximately for each band, but then we're going to apply a padding of 0.1. Okay. 10% of that band. So I have 100 for each. So my bands are actually going to be padding with 10% on each side will be 80 pixels and 10 on this side and 10 on that side. Now we're going to create a linear scale because we have the hours, and we're going to start from 0 hours to, I think we go up to 59 hours or something like that. So we have that. The range for it is chart height, 0. So range goes from chart height, which is 600 to 0. Now we're creating 2 new functions, bottom axis, left axis, and we're going to apply those. So for this one, chart group append G, called left axis, and we're going to do left axis is nothing but Y scale axis. It's on the left axis, and so we want 10 ticks to it, which means we have whatever 0 to where is our data hours, right? So 0 to 59. So we have 10 ticks within that, and we'll see how that looks like. And we're saying chart group, left axis, so that takes care of y-axis. X-axis, I told you that you have to shift it by chart height, otherwise the x-axis appears on the top of the chart. We're calling it as a bottom axis variable here. So that's your X-band scale. And on X-band, you have 9 data points. So it's going to move it down, put 9 data points in it. Chart group, select all dot bar. Now that you're just doing a bar chart data, first cast data, enter for anything new. And rectangles, you want the chart, a bar chart is a rectangle. And then attributes class bar. So it's going to add all the attributes class bar. When you run it, you should actually do the inspect on the elements and see the code, how it changes. And so attribute of this is names. So all the names, all the hours, width is the bandwidth of the band scale. And then this is a standard thing, height minus minus so the white space that you see there. Okay, so is that clear? Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and run it by first shutting this cd out of it, cd 06 all python -m and I'll open a new incognito window, do localhost. I have my chart with 0.1. I have, how many ticks do I have? I wanted 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, wait, more. 5 to 55. That's 11 ticks. Interesting. There's 11 ticks. But maybe 11 ticks have 10 spaces in it. No, let's have 11 spaces in it. I don't know why I did that. If we don't calculate this one, it does have 10 spaces, but I need to test that. So if we go back, and yeah, that's what I'm going to try and see what happens if I change the ticks. The tick of, yes. Let's do it. It's 15. Maybe n plus 1 function or something. I don't know how it works. Maybe it didn't pick the change.
Maybe you close the browser and do it.
That's a good idea. Let's see. I don't know. Maybe. Anyways, did you get what the chart is doing? How it's getting rendered? It look pretty spent.
So that can also be 0.
What?
That can also be 0.
No, I need to figure that out. Or maybe I need to, let's see. I don't know why it's not changing. Oh. Sorry. So see the tick values, you can also give specific tick values. So that's what the ticks do. But don't know why. It's defaulted to 10. Maybe it's taking default. It should actually give you. Anyways, apart from that, let's see. Where's an example? Okay. So, anyways, I hope that was clear, except this. Okay, let's just move on. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Cancel. Okay. Linear scale. Sorry. Yeah. Here. This one?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Let's go. Next one is to, let's see, close all these. Next one is to line generations. Okay, this is fun. So here I can just render the page without having to do anything because it doesn't have any CSV reading. So what we're going to do is we're going to learn something called as SVG path. Okay, we learned SVG, scalable vector graphic path, helps you put line charts. And these are just acronyms. Okay, M means move to, L means line to, H means horizontal line to, V means vertical line to, C means curved line to, and so on and so forth. So example, what are we doing here? We are basically saying M means move to. So first it will tell the cursor to go to 150 from this, from the zero on the zero axis. So 150, and then it says 0, and then L75. L is line to 75. So go from 150 here to 75, and then go to 200. So it kind of helps you move around the code. So let's try one of this, right? So if I do this, if I say instead of 200, I say 100 and run it. Hold shift. It didn't want to come all the way here. If I remove Z, right, it won't connect. Okay. Here it will because we have a fill in this thing. So let's see. Okay, I'll just explain to you guys on this example we have. So this is what's getting generated out of this code. So I'm going to show you the code. So first of all, what it's doing is it's showing you all the, so this is the CDN Cloudflare divs, H1, H2s, and then here you have this move 200, then go to 120, 200, and so on and so forth. And I have just this, okay? Just this. And so if I run it, I get this first line, generating a path with HTML, I get all this. The second line here, second one, generating with D3 and an array, and then scaling and user accessor function, you have coming in from here. So with D3 and array, you have coordinates. You say where to start, where to go, where to start, where to go. You say line generator D3.line, and you pass those coordinates to the line generator. So you're saying basically, get me the line generator and pass these coordinates. And then in the path, you're saying fill with nothing. Stroke is blue. Stroke width is 5, which is nothing but make this thickness is 5. Stroke is blue, so you have blue line, and basically moves with the numbers here. Okay. And finally, you say line generator coordinates, etc. So that's that. Now, so that's the second .js, right? So you get that JS from here. Not here actually, down here. So you have part 2.js, and then you say generating path with blah blah blah, and you're getting the path 2 with etc. of the SVG container. That's the size, how big it should be. and then you end it. But path 3 is basically this third line, which is this one, using the assessor function, scaling and using assessor functions. So if you go back, you're getting the same array, saying where things should move from. And you see as you go this side, the numbers are getting smaller because you're going to the end of that x-axis. So now you're saying, and you're doing the scaling linearly, so you're getting the values, and then the numbers are getting bigger. This is going to scale linearly with x. So 10, 0 to 10 or 0 to 400. So this 10 will be 100 actually. So the range would be 0 to 400 when you pass x. For 400 it will be, for 40 it will be 400. So it's a 10x scale. It's a linear scale. So for 10 it will be 100, 20 it will be 200, and so on and so forth. Y scale is the similar thing. You're moving from 0 to this is 250. So it's also 10x because the highest element is 225. So the scale is 250, 10x. Then you're saying line generator, and then you are saying, okay, well, for this line, go to x, get all the values of x, and then draw the line. And then get all the values of y, draw the line, passing the data array, which is from here, pass all this data array, all the function line generator, which is here, and boom, you get each line. I think you get four lines, right? So if you look at this, 4 points connected by x, 1, 2, 3, and 4. These 4 points connected with that. Now, what does Z do? And I'll show you what it does on HTML. This is path 1 is coded here. So this is showing you manual, like this is the code, right? So that's from the here, basically SVG path. You can do that. Right? This is HTML. This is no using of any kind of JavaScript. If you do this, it will look like that. So if I say Z means what it does is it goes from first point to second point, draws a line, second point to third point, draws a line, third point to fourth point, draws a line. And if you say Z, it goes back to the first point, right? So if I do Z, you'll see this line that I have here will change. This one, so I went up to fourth point, and now I'm saying go from the fourth point to the first point, okay? And then I will do that, okay? If I say, and here you have stroke is black, I can change the stroke, I can say blue. This is just HTML. This is not JavaScript or anything. So you can change it to blue. Stroke width is 3, I'm gonna make it 9. I'm gonna make it stroke width is 9. Okay. You can see and fill with let's say none. Instead of that, I'll say green. Now, if I do that and refresh my page, I got a 9 stroke and got filled with green. So this is pure HTML. This is with D3 and assessor functions. Yeah. You would see this if you want to draw a custom logo or something like that, you can play with these things and kind of do a custom logo. I mean, it's super cumbersome. But these are just lines, how to do the lines, etc., and so on and so forth. So why are we learning this? So I'm going to show you. So we're going to go for a line chart. So this is why we're learning it. We're going to start creating. We learned the bar chart just now. Now we're going to go and do some line charts. Okay, so the concept behind line charts is to do SVG path functions. So, so for example, like let's say you have this life expectancy data, right? So you have for 2014. So as the human race has evolved, the life expectancy has gotten better. Right? In 1900s, people would die around, the average age of life was 47. Right? Then it started increasing, and I mean, in 17 it dropped. It has gotten better, right? Yeah. World Wars, it was, yeah, so 27 it got better, but then it dropped again. and so on and so forth. I mean, this is just the NCHS data to 2014. I mean, this is probably worldwide 78.9. I don't know if it's just US. It seems like it's more like worldwide data. I was talking to someone. I think right now the annuities calculation take. You know what annuities are? Like annuities that you can pay some money and keep getting certain level of income. Like I can get $10,000 and get certain level of income after you're old. You can do this thing. You just or social security. Like people decide when, like they wait to take the social security, because if you take at 66, you get certain amount, but every year that you wait, you get 8% higher. I was talking to someone and they said that they're going to wait till 70 because their expectancy calculator is showing 89 years as the expectancy, and that's kind of the average calculation that they're using right now for a lot of reasons of annuities and life insurance policies. So we're living longer than expected. So this has definitely gotten better. Anyways, how do you plot all these points on a line chart is the question. So let's run the code first and look at the chart. So you guys have an idea of what's going on. Let's wait. Pass and why is it still cashed in? Yeah. Okay, so that's our ugly line chart, but it kind of shows you without any axis plot or anything, it shows you how things have changed. Right? So you can see clearly the dips if we could plot the x-axis and so on and so forth. You can see when so it was much more volatile until probably late 70s or 80s when, you know, industrial revolution had started and stuff. Was that? Oh, that's interesting. Why do you say so?
Because I can't be any specific reason why life expectancy would be so volatile and suddenly street out and see
I can see the industrial revolution changing it, the healthcare. Yeah, 1900s, World Wars.
Projections based on the data. Yeah.
Excuse me.
And at some point they start having actual data. So it's street out.
Interesting. I didn't think about it that way. Maybe.
So from 1917 to 1918, it went from 50.9
This looks
to
like
30.
two totally different graphs.
Oh, maybe.
So this must be US because they went to World War One.
That's probably it. Yeah. That would be crazy. Well, young people. Okay. Patrick cares. Okay. Anyways, so anyways, whether it's a data gap or whether it's an error, that's the point to be discussed after 9:30. So we have the SVG width and height, same thing. So I'm just going to point to the changes. I'm not going to read every single point code. I'm going to give you guys a chance to just look at it and see. So this is adding an SVG element into SVG area. Sometimes we just add it to the body. Sometimes we have dedicated area. We add it to there. That's fine. Reading CSV is going to be the exactly same, get all the data points. And then consoling the data is fine. I mean, that's same. Going through each data point with converting the year into integers, converting life expectancy into integers because it's going to read as string. And then this one also is the same. So you're basically saying X scale goes from the extent. So the lowest life data is the bottommost scale, the highest is the highest scale. And the width, if you want to span, you want to have your chart span across the width of the SVG, SVG height, and then y-axis is the same. Now you're going to, the only change that you will see, is now since you have this data, and we saw how the line operator works, d3.line, we're going to pass the X array, and that's years. And then we're going to pass the Y array, which is the life expectancy. And then from, if you remember from here, we had used those line generators, right? So this one. And so this one was more like giving you the array and plotting it using d3.line. We're actually using this guy, the successor function, which lets you take these inputs of the array in using arrow functions or arrow mapping and changing it to a continuous stream of input that then gets passed onto and the lines get created. So this is the code, the assessor function, which you call, is being used here. If you see, so the line generator function, these assessors that pass on the years and life expectancy, and then you create a path, stroke black. You're going to do width 1, and probably want to do 4, and run, Control S here, and then let's go here, reload. A little more darker, I guess. Yeah, it's a little more darker. So that's it. So this is how you plot the line function. Okay. Now, with the line function, I want to see if we can get to a chart. So I had that. Hopefully it's the same example. No, I'm changing the example now. Force points. These are my date and force. What is force? Force points, some kind of force points. So we have the year and the force points. And let's see really quickly. How does this look like? So CD. Okay, so these are the force points. And so what we want to do is get these x-axis and y-axis. So we plotted the chart earlier. What I would like to do is get the x and y-axis. And so all those are, have you walk through this one and then maybe, so we do the same thing. We set the margins, we do the chart width and height. We got the body, insert the SVG elements. We do this moving of the SVG element by left and top. And then what we're doing is creating a function to get the time from the %y. %y is the, so we're basically saying that the D3 has these ears and get the ear part as parsed as time. And then force points are basically what the CSV, we're reading the CSV, parsing time as the date, data force as integer. So you know how I had parse int earlier? You could use parse time as when you see a date function or a date value or a year value. And finally, you're doing these scale time or scale. I mean, you don't have to scale time here. You can do scale linear because it's 2, 2010, 2011, 2012. Anyways, so passing X and Y ranges. You have that. You're setting up bottom axis, left axis with those scales. And then finally, you're using the assessor method to get the date and force. And you're plotting the path of this lines that will be drawn using the years, and that will be passed using the force data function, and that pretty much gives you the chart. What I want to ask you is review this code, use these methods here, so you have the linear scale, range, and stuff, to actually apply that to getting the x's on the other exercise. So on this student generating lines, we can use these axis methods to get the axis for the life expectancy one. So is that clear?
Yes.
Okay, it's clear. We have 9 minutes, 8 minutes. 7 minutes and 55 seconds to do this. I know is it too overwhelming? What's going on? Is it too much? Is it what's going on? What?
Just be only 7 minutes.
Okay.
It doesn't have to make sense right now.
What all are the alternatives without
Tableau. Yeah, that's a real question. Remember you were saying like, oh, it's so, but Blocky is a good, but Blocky also charges. And trust me, I think you're going to probably 10% changing someone's code to get your chart. Okay, you're learning this because if you don't know what that person is doing in that line, he's calling the line. If you don't know how the SVG part works, if you don't know how to close a shape with the SVG path, if you can't do it, then you can't change someone else's code. You will be stuck. So this is like, I know it's a little dry, it's a little long, but it's required because if you don't, like, look back and think about the day when you got here and you started learning Python for the first time. It was overwhelming, maybe, I don't know, you enjoyed it maybe. But this thing is tedious work, man. I mean, there's a reason it gets sent to third world countries. Nobody wants to do this kind of stuff. It's a lot of work, to be honest. It's a lot of work. Anyways. Okay, so I think you guys are pretty spent. What I'll do is I'll leave us here. If you want to do the exercise, that's good. If you don't, then I completely understand. When we come back on Wednesday, we'll start from this point. That will give us a natural revision point. But go home and like study this. Most importantly, I gave you a lot of code, right? I gave you a website that blocks whatever. So go to that website, pick up some chart, try to create your chart in your own environment. I think that will give you a lot of confidence. Then trying to do the exercise. That's next. So pick a chart, see what data can you pass, make up some data in an Excel sheet. That's always easy. You know how to render the Excel sheet now. So use that Excel, copy someone's chart, start applying it. That's pretty much what's needed for you. So, okay, thank you. Okay.
Are we looking at it?
Beautiful. For your final subjects or final project, you might use it. You might use Tableau Public. Tableau can merge with P3. So look at Tableau's public. I'll send the website. If you look at it, you'll see like a lot of people have done a lot of stuff with JavaScript. So I'm expecting all of it, right? If you build your Tableau visualization, that would be good. I mean, then you're going to be beautiful. Yeah. No, it was a long day. Thanks, guys.
It's like a Chinese salad, except